Well, yeah. I was actually over there
I'm
buying
ready.
mics because I
We're,
needed some
we're
mics,
beginning now.
and then I just was started talking. I don't know if one of you guys should get out.
I didn't say it like that.
I didn't either.
All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm quite ready. Is the camera on me?
Three, two.
All right, we are live on the interwebs. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Look what I'm doing. I'm putting on my super cool nerd glasses so we can talk about cool, geeky stuff on today's show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, 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 welcome. Yes, that's right. Hello, we are live. Come on, everybody. Hit refresh video on your page. If you're at theonering.net/live, then it's time for you to press the button that says refresh video. Hello, everybody. I can see you in the chat. Hi, Jenny. Tedorus. Hello, Tedorus. Your articles have been very excellent indeed. Keep them coming, Tedorus. Look, there's Dwena. Hi, Dwena. Oh no, Gothmog. Do you want me to sing or do you want me to grond? Grond. Grond. Which one do you want? Because you can't get both. Either you're going to get the grond or you're going to get the singing. One of the two. So you make up your mind. Yes, Clifford is here, and there's, I have a couple of friends here visiting with me, and I have some interesting ammunition up on the walls, and, I've got Daft Punk very carefully looking over me. The new album is fantastic. You guys have to get Random Access Memories. Great new album by Daft Punk. So, there they are. You want me to sing? Okay, so if... Yes, of course I'm on time. What do you think? A wizard is never late. He arrives precisely when he means to. Anyway, there's my little funny moment. Hello, everybody. Hi, guys. Yes, I have arrived precisely when I mean to, and Justin, my co-host slash producer slash best friend in THORIN, where is he? Hell if I know. Out in the world, doing something out in the world. Hello, Z. We're going to have to wake you up. Snap out of it. Come on. It's time for a live show. This is THORIN Tuesdays. You are here on the live webcast that we do every week here at the home of all things geek in Los Angeles. This is Meltdown Comics. You guys got to come make a trip to Meltdown Comics on Sunset Boulevard, right here in the heart of Hollywood. Next time you're here in town, it's everything and anything you wanted in the world of geekdom. It's all right here. So, I'm checking out a few things here in the chat room. The volume is too low. Really? If the volume is too low, then I'm gonna have to just talk a little louder. I'll do my best. Justin will be with us in just a few minutes. THORIN Tuesday is the live weekly show that encourages audience participation. We sometimes have special guest stars, interviews, and sometimes we do convention coverage, and sometimes we do THORIN After Dark. And that's when we do late night mischief over at DragonCon and things like that. And I'm really looking forward. Are those 3D glasses? Once upon a time, these really were 3D glasses, and now they're, just my geek glasses, just for shits and giggles, as they say down south. Anyway, yes, I like the hat too, very much. It's from Istanbul. This is my Turkish hat. Tedorus is live from his new laptop. Nice. Welcome to the world of new technology, Tedorus. It's very, very good to have you here. Now, we have a whole ongoing series of episodes that we have done entirely revolving around the dwarven members of the company in The Hobbit, in this lovely little book right here. Now, everybody knows about Bilbo, everybody knows about Gandalf, but we wanted to take some time and explore the dwarven characters. For the past 6 weeks, every week we featured two of the brothers, or two of the cousins, from the Dwarven Company, and now we have arrived at the very last, the ultimate episode. We're going to talk about Thorin Oakenshield. Thorin son of Thrain, son of Thror, king under the mountain. And we're also going to have to dance around the subject because, as you know, Justin has not read the book. He's the kind of person who wants to see the motion picture on its own terms and then go and reads the book immediately after. So we've been dancing around the subject since last week, you know, trying to decide who lives, who dies, and does he know the difference between who lives and who dies. And I'm not sure that he even realizes the ultimate fate of Thorin Oakenshield. Maybe he doesn't. But when he gets here, we'll get to talk with him, and we'll lead a few questions in and see if he knows. Back in 1977, when Rankin and Bass made that beautiful and unusual animated version of The Hobbit, and I think it's kind of beautiful and, you know, has lots of nostalgic memories for me, but it's really not to everybody's taste. In that movie, at the Battle of the Five Armies, many of the dwarves actually die in battle. But according to the original book, according to Tolkien, I believe that only three, that means 10 of the 13 actually survive. But in the Hobbit cartoon, only 7 survived. So, you know, you're dealing with filmmakers, different filmmakers. In the old case, it was Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass. Now, you've got Peter Jackson, another filmmaker. And as part of the adaptation, we do not know how closely to the original book they're going to hew. It's entirely possible that the dwarves in the live-action version of The Hobbit that Peter Jackson is doing, by the time we get to the third film, which is called There and Back Again, when he shows the Battle of the Five Armies, he has carte blanche to kill off any characters he wants to kill off. Look at what happened on Game of Thrones. Look at what just happened this bloody weekend. You guys saw it. Everybody on Monday morning was shocked about it. On The View, Whoopi Goldberg fell out of her chair in total shock. Everybody is talking. It is the water cooler conversation around the country, the Red Wedding. The Red Wedding that killed off almost all of the heroic leading characters in Game of Thrones. Well, when you're a television producer or a film producer and you're adapting somebody else's book, you can change things. This is what happens in adaptation. You can change, you can adapt. We do not know how many dwarves are going to die in the third Hobbit film, and it might be more than just the 3 of them that Professor Tolkien indicated in his book. So, given the allowance that there might be a Red Wedding type of situation in the Battle of the Five Armies, Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens, co-writing the script with Peter Jackson, they might decide to kill off any number of our favorite characters. But the story of Thorin Oakenshield is actually the story of a true family tragedy. It is almost Shakespearean in its structure, I would say that. And Thorin's family, suffering so much over the years at the hands of Smaug, suffering at the hands of Azog and the orcs of the Misty Mountains, suffering so many losses at the hands of Sauron. Even Thorin's dad, Thrain, captured and imprisoned in Dol Guldur. All these horrible, tragic things happen, and you wonder if there's going to be a happy ending for anybody in this story. Well, for Bilbo, we know. We automatically know Bilbo is going to have a happy ending in that way, because we see him in the Fellowship of the Ring and all the other movies. But will Thorin survive? Will these other dwarves that we're coming to understand so well, are they going to make it through this difficult second and third film? We'll see. We'll see in the year 2015. Isn't that right? 2015. Wait, in the distance, I hear noises, I see people, there are things happening, and what do my wondering eyes deceive? But a furry hat, a furry, buffer-inspired hat, slightly Mongolian in flavor. And what do I have here with me? But I have my fellow friend, and Justin, here he is.
Usually,
welcome back.
Usually you're the one that's late.
Actually,
I feel like, how did we reverse roles this week?
we have no concept of late or tardy. We are where we are because that is exactly where we want to be. Whoa, hello. Wow, I'm sorry. I had beans for lunch. What was that?
Pardon me.
Pardon me. Anyways.
Well, I'm excited to talk about THORIN today. But,
Are you now?
But before we start talking about THORIN and getting into some of the the meatier characters of this, we've had pretty exciting week.
We did
this week.
We have a very exciting week, and I'm excited by the fact that one of our fans in the chat room just said, "How come Justin keeps saying dwarves instead of dwarves?"
Dwarves? Dwarves. That's what they're named.
There's a W in there.
Dwarves.
It's dwarves, not dwarves.
Dwarves.
Thank you, Noel.
How do you say
That's
drawers?
Funny. That's very funny.
How do you say a drawer?
Drawers?
Drawers.
Drawers?
Drawers. I say dwarves like I say drawers. Drawers. Like, hey, I got my socks are in the sock drawer. My dwarves are dwarves. That's what they are. So,
thank you, Retro Boy. I appreciate that. You did. He found a copy of Ringer's Lord of the Fans for me. That's very, very
bring
cool.
it to Comic-Con and Cliff will sign it.
And I'll sign it, or you can mail it to me. I'll sign it and I'll send it back to you if you want.
So,
but,
so you know what happened this weekend?
This weekend,
Armageddon Expo
in New Zealand.
Was it New Zealand or
Yes,
Australia?
yes. No, I believe it was in New Zealand.
I thought it was in Australia.
Guys, look it up for us. Was Armageddon show in Australia or New Zealand? It all counts as down under.
I gotta say that there were so many pictures this weekend posted on Twitter from Adam Brown and Dino Gorman and everybody else.
Indeed.
Oh my gosh! Like, I want to have a beer with these guys, these dwarves.
Already did. Already did.
This guy lives the dream.
Adam Brown is a great guy. He's a great drinker.
Well,
and he can belch like nobody else.
He
does in the movie.
They had an all-star panel at Armageddon Expo. They had all 13 dwarves. I think.
All 13 dwarves?
I think.
I thought some of them were busy on set.
Maybe some of them were busy on set, but they had an extraordinary panel, and some people have uploaded the videos. Do you think any of them are going to make it to San Diego this year? Like, they are really busy right now.
Maybe, but it really depends upon one major thing, more than anything else. It depends upon how much money Warner Brothers wants to spend.
It costs a lot of money to fly
them back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for all these shows.
How much was a flight round trip to New Zealand?
From Los Angeles to New Zealand, round trip, it's going to cost you in between $1,200 and $1,500.
And that's
cheapest ticket would be $1,100 if you're lucky.
Right.
But don't fly Pacific Air, please. Don't. Fly Air New Zealand.
We love Air New Zealand.
Much better.
We really lights.
Camera.
God.
Action.
Yeah.
Hey,
all right.
I've got a lamp over here.
We've got a lamp right here.
We've got all kinds of lamps. Ooh.
Yeah. Hello.
This is.
7
minutes in heaven with him could turn into a whole type of new hell, a whole fresh new hell.
You know who wasn't? There was one dwarf actor that kept tweeting that he wasn't hanging out with the rest of the boys.
Really? Oh, look, we got confirmation that Armageddon was in Wellington.
It was in Wellington.
It was in Wellington.
So
Thank
you know who wasn't hanging out with the boys? The guys with the 5 a.m. set calls.
Of course. They had to get up and be in the dwarf chair to do latex and hair and makeup.
Or they weren't even there. Like there were some actors. Yeah,
there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
That's excellent.
All right.
All right.
All right. We got lights again. So, Dwalin. Who plays Dwalin?
Well, it's Graham McTavish.
Graham McTavish kept tweeting and responding to all these photos that everyone was tweeting, saying, "Wish I was there with you guys, but I'm the only one here with a 5 a.m. set call." So why is Graham McTavish the only one?
Whoa! Hello. Damn! I gotta stop eating those spicy foods for lunch.
Bomber over here. Jeez. Beaufort Bomber.
I know.
So why would Graham McTavish be the one working on all these reshoots and scenes and not the other actors?
What are you talking? Well,
why is THORIN? Why is Graham McTavish?
That's an absolute accident of the schedule.
Really?
It's just an accident of the schedule.
I have to think that there are some special scenes
you think?
being shot with Dwalin that don't require all the other actors, because they're boozing it up right now in Wellington. There's so many pictures of alcohol and all the other dwarves. But you know what started? What we heard, and I got a little tisk from the owners of the One Ring this weekend, because I was a little eager to announce the trailer is going to be on Man of Steel, because we haven't received any official confirmation that the Hobbit Desolation of Smaug trailer will be on Man of Steel. But there are many tweets and Facebook posts, and if you know who to follow, and you know who was in Wellington at the expo,
Yeah?
the Armageddon Expo, there were many people saying, I just talked to someone at Weta, the trailer is attached to Man of Steel.
Really?
There's multiple people saying this. Now, this is all conjecture. This is all on the internet. This is all on Twitter.
But you know what? This is where news becomes real first. Just something that is tweeted as a bizarre rumor. You know, we have to do fact checking. We have to be journalistically responsible. We have to.
You be journalistically
we
responsible
have to
on
vet
the
the
website.
facts.
When
have to
I'm
vet
on
the
Twitter
facts.
and Facebook, I'm a blast it out.
I'm just telling you.
I can't wait. Like, Facebook and Twitter's one thing. Now, for properly
But
posted,
it's a news source. We are a news source, and
that's why we didn't post it on the OneRing.net itself.
Okay.
Like, we are a news source. We're registered with Google News. We're an official source for Entertainment Weekly and the LA Times and Empire Magazine. Like, you know, we only post stuff on the OneRing.net when it's been verified and validated, and we've seen it with our own eyes, and you know, world-renowned expertise. As you know, Cliff has published a couple books, you know, produced a couple movies, and been in a couple games. He kind of knows what he's talking about. But when I get word on Twitter, I'm gonna retweet that.
You should.
Yeah, like
You should.
So that started a discussion on our Facebook page, because I posted the Two Towers teaser trailer. This was the very first preview anybody had of the Two Towers, the second movie. And people were flabbergasted that they
Two Towers trailer shows a big surprise that a major dead character named Gandalf
is alive
and back in the Two Towers. So at that time, New Line Cinema thought that it was very important for the audiences to know that Ian McKellen was not gone, that he's going to be back.
Right, New Line based all their marketing they thought that Ian McKellen was the big enough star. He was Magneto in X-Men, which was blown up right then. Like, but the Lord of the Rings was so many others. They didn't need to show Ian McKellen in the trailer, and the fans went nuts because a lot of fans were like, I read the book, I already know he's alive, so you know. But there were a lot of movie fans that came to know Tolkien only through the movies, like myself.
Yes.
That had no idea. And
it
then
really did spoil the surprise in the film.
It spoiled the surprise.
For those people, only for that audience.
Well, and here's the other thing, is that a lot of people that read the books then got angry, saying, my sister, my daughter, my friend, my mother, my cousin, that, you know, is new to Tolkien and is asking me a bunch of questions. Gandalf was one of the great surprises in the entire story of Middle-earth. Yes. One of the very few great surprises and great reveals of the entire story was Gandalf's return. And even then he built it up and like there's a voice, but we don't know if it's Saruman and stuff like that. Like, it is one of the it's one of the biggest surprises that Tolkien intended as a surprise. And now all of the book fans were saying that surprise has now been spoiled and ruined for an entire generation.
You have to look at the business of marketing films.
I don't care.
Star Wars,
the second Star Wars movie kept a lid on Luke, I am your father. They knew it was a surprise. You don't have to, like,
Well, no,
It's
that's
the
different.
second movie reveal. The second movie reveal. If you look at many movies, the second movie is often considered the darkest and the best. The Dark Knight,
Mhm.
Empire Strikes Back,
Mhm. The Desolation of Smaug, which
Attack
itself,
of the Clones.
which-
But all of them have a major surprise and a major reveal.
Cypher Diaz went off to some weird planet and tried to order up a clone army. That was the big surprise.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm just
That's
saying.
it. But
it
I'm,
wasn't
I'm
really
saying
Cypher
it didn't.
Diaz.
It didn't need
It
to.
was Darth Sidious.
So-
Surprise!
So 2 years ago when we were at Comic-Con, we took a poll. We took a poll at our panel at Comic-Con, and Warner Brothers executives were in the room. They were seated in the front row, and they had
Quite
iPads
a few
out.
of them. They had iPads that were illuminating their faces in the dark.
Yes.
Yes.
And the first
Punching it
question
up.
that Cliff asked is that raise your hand if you don't want to see the dragon before in any of the trailers. And the entire room raised their hand. The entire
no,
room.
if you don't want to see.
If you don't want to
If
see.
you don't want to see the dragon, that's right. If you don't want to see the dragon, everyone in the room raised. Now, and then I reversed the question and I said, if you do want to see the dragon in any of the posters or advertising, then raise your hand. Only one girl.
Yeah.
Only one girl out of 400 people in the room.
So we took
Raised your hand.
so this was before An Unexpected Journey came out. Like people knew the impact of the dragon and knew don't spoil this. So now here we are, and we took a poll last month on our Facebook page saying, do you want to see the dragon before the movie? And overwhelmingly, people were like, yeah, you know what? Show us a little bit more. We saw his snout and we saw his eye.
And this is why.
Show us a little bit
This
more.
is why.
Maybe show us his face. Maybe.
The direction of marketing a film is changing. This particular film, it's changing based upon audience response to the first film and the DVDs and the way that the internet and all of us, actually, the way that we are all talking and creating buzz on our own, that is really having a specific effect on whether or not these polls are going to swing one way or another. If you had asked people before The Hobbit and Unexpected Journey came out, you ask them and they say no. No dragon. Don't show me any dragon.
Well,
Ask them a year later, after they have seen some snippets of the dragon in An Unexpected Journey,
right.
and their response is a little bit different.
It's like an entry drug, you know. They were
Yes, it's a gateway drug.
they got the tease, and now they're just like, give me more. And I am adamant saying, don't do what you did with the Two Towers. Don't spoil it. I would have loved to have been surprised by Gandalf's return in Two Towers. Other than that, Two Towers is a perfect movie. It's my favorite of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It is almost a perfect movie. There are very few perfect movies, and The Two Towers is one of them. And this movie has the potential of being a perfect movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end, with characters you care about, action scenes, supporters along the way, dynamic supporters. We've got bears and spiders and dragons. Oh my!
Oh my!
We've got a lot of cool stuff. So I'm just saying that, you know, and even in Star Trek too. Let's keep the sequels going. Star Trek Into Darkness, the second movie in the trilogy of new Star Trek. They kept it a secret. They kept Benedict Cumberbatch's Khan a secret.
They tried. They tried their best.
Oh, they worked very, very hard
to keep it a secret.
And basically it was a secret until the preview screenings, and then
it surprised me. I saw preview screenings.
It surprised you.
2 weeks before the actual theatrical release of Star Trek Into Darkness. Surprised the hell out of me. It really did surprise me.
Well, there you go.
I thought that was really, really cool.
So don't
really cool.
spoil the dragon. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see its tongue, its lips. Maybe show some fire. Show the reactions of the dwarfs, like and Bilbo, just like and maybe end the trailer with a little breathing and give people a hint that he talks. But do you think people would have turned out in droves to see Two Towers if they knew that a tree talks?
I don't know about that. No.
Like everything in Fellowship is pretty believable. I mean, yeah, you got orcs and stuff, but there's no, like, the fantasy elements is kind of limited. when you get to Two Towers, you got talking trees. Come on. If you told me that before Two Towers came out, I would have been like, come on, no. Like, really? Now I feel the same way. This dragon's gonna talk. Spiders are gonna talk. I don't want spiders to talk. Come on, this Shelob didn't talk.
No, Shelob did not talk. But here, take a moment to realize that these movies are being made primarily for the audience that is familiar with the books. And
that's what he said about Lord of the Rings.
And look, a lot of fans in this chat room are actually saying things like, let's just have one voice, one little bit of a voice, maybe one sentence about the dragon. But the fact is, we're only a couple of weeks away. Man of Steel is going to be out very, very soon. Riz? And,
so, that's all I had to say about the Two Towers trailer and the spoilers.
The spoilers that we're going to get are going to be minimal at best. They're going to introduce a lot of Lee Pace as the Elven King. They're going to introduce some really fascinating stuff.
I'll bet you that they're recutting and adding
Legolas. They're definitely going to have Orlando Bloom in the trailer. But I don't think they're going to show much of the dragon, but they might show destruction of the dragon, burning Lake Town, and reaction shots from Bard. Maybe Bard.
And I'll bet you
struggling to aim the black arrow at the beast.
I bet
I'm
you
sure
Luke
we'll see a lot of
Evans,
fire and destruction.
Based on Fast 6 being number 1 2 weeks in a row, Fast and the Furious 6 beat everything else this week. And it was number 1. I bet you Luke Evans, who's the bad guy in that movie.
He's on his way.
He's going to be featured a little more in the trailer. But
he is
anyway,
very much on his way.
So that's what's going on. Armageddon Expo was this weekend. Most of the Dwarves were there. Graham McTavish wasn't, or he's got early set call time. And we've got a lot of tweets and a lot of people saying, I was talking to someone at the convention. And we know for a fact that people that go to the conventions usually know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So that, that started this whole discussion. So anyway, the trailer, as far as we know, as far as I know, not the One Ring, as far as I know, the trailer is on Man of Steel, and get your tickets now. By the way, Man of Steel was not shot in 3D, so you'll see all the trailers. It's available in IMAX and 3D. We don't know if the trailer's in 3D. It probably will be. We're just saying.
Probably.
So even though Superman, Man of Steel,
probably won't be in HFR. No, the trailer will just
the
probably
trailer
be
won't be in
3D.
HFR.
Yeah.
So, and it'll be interesting to see if it says coming soon in HFR 3D. We don't know if they're going to release the movie like that. That was an experiment. So, Man of Steel was not shot in 3D. It's been converted. But I might want to go see. I suggest going to see Man of Steel in 3D just to see the Hobbit Desolation of Smaug trailer in 3D. See the trailer first in 3D. Not on iTunes, not on QuickTime, not in 1080p streaming, not on your laptop. Hold off. See it in the theater first. Get that exposure. And then come back to us and say, you know what? Hold on to that dragon. So let's talk about Thorin.
Let's talk about Thorin. As many fans have been asking in the chat room, when we started the show, I already started talking to you guys about Thorin. Yes, I did. And I talked to you about Thorin about 25 minutes ago. And we had a really good little bit of an introduction to the fact that we need to talk about a very tragic character who has to deal with a great many difficulties in life, not to mention the difficulties his family is enduring, and his, as we see in the film, we see that his dad has one eye missing. Thrain, Thorin's dad, is shown by
Only
Peter Jackson
in quick
as having
glimpses.
Yeah, but that's all we see of him. He really is.
They don't make a big deal out of it.
But it is actually true. It's accurate to Tolkien, because in the Battle of Azanul Bazaar, he lost an eye in that battle. Now, it wasn't shown in that flashback, when Balin is standing by the campfire and telling that. But Thorin is really featured much, much more than any other dwarf in the whole movie. He is obviously the most important character. Professor Tolkien writes about him in exactly this way. Thorin, who was a very important dwarf,
very important dwarf.
That's exactly how Tolkien writes about him. in the book.
Okay.
Thorin, who was a very important dwarf, and we realize by his tassel on his hood and by the way he talks and pontificates in the book that Thorin is of very different kingly stature
So it like kind of
than the other dwarves.
who was the character in Lord of the Rings that said to that wanted to prove his quality?
Well, that would be Faramir.
So is Thorin like a Faramir character or more like his brother?
No. There's no other brother involved with Thorin.
He's an only child.
Thorin's not competing with any brother for the attention of his dad. Thorin doesn't have a dad anymore because his dad was captured by the Dark Lord and held for years in Dol Guldur and had his magic dwarven ring taken from him.
Wait,
That's what happened to Thorin's dad.
what? So
Yes.
you're telling me that Gandalf is gonna go into Dol Guldur and Thorin might go with him and
No. We've seen some clips from all the early trailers
Yes.
that Gandalf is having a fight with a crazed, out of his mind, delusional Thrain. Okay? We also know that
Thrain?
Thrain is Thorin's dad. Thrain, okay?
wait.
Thrain.
Where do we is that in the book or in the movie?
It's in the book and it's
So
in the trailer.
Gandalf fights Thrain?
You saw it. Everyone
I
has
thought
seen
that was the leader of the Nazgul.
Gandalf is getting surprise attacked by a poor, delusional, tortured dwarf who hasn't seen any other human beings in forever and has been left to rot and is dying and he's out of his mind and he's just, he surprises Gandalf, and from what I can tell in the bits of the trailer, Gandalf is trying to defend himself very quickly against a hasty attack from Thrain the Second, who is Thorin's dad.
I thought that was.
He's the one-eyed
I thought it
fellow
was-
that you see in one brief shot in the opening prologue. Okay?
That's not the Nazgul.
No, it's not.
Wait. Okay, so when was
Radagast fights against what looks to be the one of the Nazgul spirits, or the Witch King spirit.
which was cool.
Cool, but anachronistic. Wildly not in Tolkien at all, but
It was
interesting
cool.
to see.
It was cool.
So-
That got.
Thrain is the son of Thror. Thror was the king under the mountain.
Thorin's brother dies in the Battle of Azazazazazazaz.
Azanulbazar.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for that, Dizino. Yeah, so we don't have to worry about a Faramir-Boromir relationship in Thorin's family line.
Wait, so was
it's
Thorin the
usually-
older or the younger?
That I don't know, but I'd have to look it up.
You got.
And it doesn't matter. What matters...
It matters because it's setting up the character. Like, a Faramir and Boromir were completely separate, different types of characters because Faramir was the youngest.
Professor Tolkien never mentions any of Thorin's sisters or brothers beyond a brief mention in the appendix. They're not on the stage. They don't matter to the story. What matters to Thorin's story is absolutely dealing with the tragedy of his father and his grandfather and trying to save Durin's line and recover their lost kingdom and their lost culture, their lost gold, and their lost ancestry. That is what's most important to Thorin. Whether he makes it or not defines the tragedy. That's the tragedy that underlines everything. You haven't read the book, so you don't know yet. You don't even know what's going to happen to him yet. So I'm going to ask you.
I want to know.
I'm going to ask you. Do you think that Thorin is going to survive, given in a Game of Thrones, Red Wedding type of context, that any major character can die at any time? And I'm not talking about.
Lord
I'm
of
not
the
talking
Rings
about-
taught us that.
Lord of the Rings teaches you how to throw Aragorn off a cliff, and it's a fake death, and then he comes back 10 minutes later and he's never really
right,
dead.
and then
Okay,
it tells you to throw Gandalf off a cliff.
But he
and
really
then-
did die.
And then he come back.
But
and
Gandalf really
and then
did die.
they taught you how to kill Boromir.
Okay. Look,
So the Lord of the Rings kills 3 characters, and so they almost killed Thorin, and
thank you, Kelly.
I
That's funny.
have my own issues with with the ending of The Hobbit, but so Thorin. The question was, what do you think? What do I think Thorin's fate is?
Yeah. Do you have any idea if Thorin will survive or not?
No, I have.
Really?
I don't know, but
What do you think?
What do I think?
I mean, knowing how Tolkien
I
writes his stories, which you might know a little bit about, you've read The Lord of the Rings, do you think it would be kind of like, Beowulf, epic, saga, like in alignment with great Northern European sagas, you think it's appropriate for the lead character to die in the effort of trying to reclaim the gold or the throne or the ancestry, whatever it is? Do you think it's appropriate for Thorin to live or die? What do you think?
I think I'm on the fence. I think he could go either way. Like, he's not really set. He's just like, let's reclaim Erebor. Like, it's obviously he's already leading people and stuff like that. Like, he's more about like carrying on the family line and like bringing, getting rid of the shame of loss.
Yes, that's true.
So as far as that concerned, he's ready to go to the ends of the earth. I mean, he's ready to die for this. So, I think he could go either way. I don't know. I don't know if he was supposed to die at the hands of Azog and he didn't. In this movie, I feel like not enough people died in the first movie. Like, The Lord of the Rings, every single movie, The Lord of the Rings is just like, yeah, I care about this character, but man, that was tough. Gandalf falling,
That was very
and
very
and
tough.
then when Vigo falls over the cliff, I'm like, oh crap, like here we go again.
Is he gone too?
And then of course Boromir's last stand was just fantastic. So I'm ready for Thorin to do a last stand. So I don't know where that is and how it is. So I think that's it. Basically, because he doesn't have any family, he has nothing to live for. And that's one of my biggest issues with The Hobbit as compared to Lord of the Rings. Everybody had something to live for. Aragorn was a reluctant. He didn't want the throne, but he wanted his wife, his love, his great love. Like, he was fighting for something. He had something greater to fight for. Everybody was fighting for something. Sam almost died. Remember at the end of Fellowship of the Ring, and Sam almost drowned? I was just like, oh man, this movie is just gonna.
How many more characters are they gonna kill off?
Whew.
Yes, in Fellowship of the Ring, 2 lead characters die: Boromir and Gandalf. They die spectacularly in the Fellowship of the Ring. Gandalf gets to come back because he's not a mere human. He is a Maiar spirit. And as he says in his dialogue, I was sent back until my task was done. So you know that there's other metaphysical things going on that are pulling the strings in Gandalf's life. But, Boromir was gone, he was gone. And then you weren't sure if Sam was going to make it. Oh, looks like he's going to drown.
Holy smokes.
But you hadn't read the book at that time.
No.
Now, you haven't read The Hobbit, okay? Do you think that... Now, a lot of fans are in here in this chat room, and they're asking, what about person X, Y, or Z? And I think that it is much more interesting to deal with a person such as Justin, my friend, just like you guys have said.
The average movie-going public.
The average moviegoer who has not read Tolkien, which is a little bit disgusting, but it's okay. It's okay. He'll get back to it. He'll get there eventually. Okay, we got in Lord of the Rings, Theoden's son dies, and Denethor dies, and Haldir dies in Helm's Deep, which was an invention of Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, but that's okay. I'm anticipating that more dwarves are going to be dead than what Tolkien said in the book. There's only three of the 13 who die in the Battle of the Five Armies. And of course we have to wait until the third movie.
And they all die in the Battle of the Armies?
This is a huge battle. Are you kidding? This is
all right. Yeah. But in Lord of the Rings, the characters die at different points. They didn't die during the main battles. Here's the other thing. Did Sam almost die in Fellowship of the Ring, the book? Did Sam almost die, or was that kind of played for?
It was just played up a bit in the film.
See, and that's one of the issues I have with The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, the movie. Peter Jackson. Like, none of the characters have anything to live for. Like, you have a bunch of brothers, pairs of brothers, and there's no like brotherly camaraderie, except for a little bit by Feely and Keely, but there's no love thing. So I'm looking forward to, Toriel. I'm looking forward to a little bit giving some new characters like reasons to fight to the death. I don't know. So Thorin Oakenshield, he doesn't have, as far as I'm concerned.
Hi, Alex.
I don't see his dad He doesn't have any brothers or sisters. He's just the leader of the pack, trying to reclaim his family's honor. That's as far as I know from a typical movie-going public. And
That's right, Idril. That is correct, Idril. That's why I said it was an invention of the filmmakers.
look,
Yes.
Roy Tolkien.
That's right.
I'm hiding from Roy.
Oh, yeah, you are. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because
know, I'm
you
like-
made a promise to him.
A promise.
You made a promise, Mr. Frodo, to one of the scions of Professor Tolkien. You promised a Tolkien, a living Tolkien,
A leaving to.
a living Tolkien in the family, and you have not read the book yet. But that's okay. Hey, no judgment here. Let's get back to Thorin. When the very beginning of the quest.
So we're gonna
happens,
see Thrain.
We saw a lot of Thrain in.
No, we
all-
didn't see a lot of Thrain. Nobody pointed out and said father. Other than like the
We all recognized him. We talked about. We analyzed it shot by. We did a frame by frame analysis of
We
that
did.
trailer. Remember?
How did
We identified it was
who
Thrain.
plays Thrain?
I do not know the actor's name. Forgive me. But what I'm trying to get out,
That'd been
of
great
my
to get like
mouth.
Sean Connery.
the words I'm trying to get out of my mouth is that every time we saw Gandalf fighting with this zombie-looking Thrain, we wondered what the hell is up with that. And whatever clips we were going to see from that, maybe it's a flashback of Gandalf explaining how he got the map and the key from Thrain, because, at the beginning of the unexpected party, Gandalf gives it to Thorin, and Thorin says, "How did you come by that?" And it's really kind of surprising that Gandalf does not give him a straight answer
Yeah.
about where exactly he got it from. But I think we'll have a flashback in this
Oh.
Desolation of Smaug,
Oh.
and we'll have Gandalf saying, "Well, when I was traipsing around Dol Guldur, somebody came up behind me and tried to knock my lights out. It was your dad. He was crazed, he was tortured, he had been manipulated by evil, and he was out of his bonkers mind, and that's how I got the map and key." So we anticipate that's going to happen.
I got watching the preview, the Blu-ray preview. I got the feeling that Radagast was going to be the one that's going to be corrupted. There was something like with the sneak preview that we have from Desolation of Smaug, where Radagast and Gandalf are in Dol Guldur.
Yes.
Like there was something off about Radagast more than usual. That was like, all right, he gets corrupted.
No.
No?
That was a scene where Radagast and Gandalf were exploring the tombs,
The crypts.
the crypts where the Nazgul were entombed,
But they
which
didn't
is-
know where they.
which does not happen in Tolkien's books. That's a complete movie invention. But
I'm excited
and
about that.
and they were looking up somewhere way north near Angmar, where the old
Okay.
realm of the Witch King used to be.
Which king of Angmar?
And that's where Galadriel says in the movie, she says, they buried them up in the high fells above Rudar, in tombs that could not be broken, but they were obviously broken. So
Ooh.
what I'm trying to get
So
to...
this is the closest we'll have to Paths of the Dead.
Yeah, that's something pretty close to that, I think, in a way. But when Thorin began his quest for Erebor,
Mm-hmm.
he was 195 years old.
Okay.
He was 195.
How does that compare to everybody else in the company?
Well, many of the other
He's like middle aged.
dwarves live to be many hundreds of years.
Right. So basically, we've already determined Ori,
Average.
Fili, and Keely are the three youngest, and they were about 80 to 90.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're about twice his age. So Thorin's about twice his age. So if we're gonna bring that back down to human terms, Fili, Keely, and Ori about 20, maybe.
When they begin?
They're
When they
about
begin the quest?
if they were human age, they'd be about 20. Thorin would be about 40, and Balin would be 60.
In the adjusted years
Yeah.
the filmmakers are doing?
Yeah, because you're saying that you're saying he's 190 years old. Thorin's 190 years old.
Thorin was 195
Right.
when The Hobbit begins its story.
Right. So he's like a 40-year-old.
Yeah, maybe in dwarf years.
Yeah.
Maybe. But the thing is that Thorin was taken by this idea in his head. He was completely obsessed with this idea in his head that his family pride and his family lineage could be restored. And Bilbo's narration does a nice job of saying that in the opening prologue of An Unexpected Journey. Thorin goes off to work in men's towns and make weapons for people as a hired smithy, but he never forgave and he never ever forgot. That's the exact dialogue Bilbo has. He could not forget what happened, and he
could not forget what happened to his father.
Yeah, being one-eyed in the opening sequence before the dragon attacks.
Do you know who else is one-eyed?
So that's a little bit anachronistic, but
One-eyed Willie.
Thrain is Thrain. I'm gonna move on. Thrain is depicted as having one eye even before the Battle of Azanul Bazaar. But here's the trick. All by themselves, they went with the survivors from Erebor, and they resettled to the lands in the Blue Mountains, just over to the west of the Shire. In fact, they were next-door neighbors to Bilbo. Thorin and his dad, Thrain, lived for a number of years in the Ered Luin, which is the Elvish term for Blue Mountains. And they built a little settlement which became quite a comfortable, series of dwarven halls. But it was really small scale and kind of like living in a cheap studio compared to the luxury penthouse that they used to have. Get it? So after a time, Thorin's dad decided he would take some of his own dwarven companions and he would undertake his own quest for Erebor. And this happened before the events of The Hobbit. Thorin's dad, Thrain, goes off to try to reclaim Erebor, and many evils befall him. He is captured by Sauron. The Dark Lord captures...
I thought Sauron wasn't...
He is captured by Sauron. At that point, he is not named as Sauron. He's not in full form.
Just like the Necromancer.
He's the Necromancer, yes.
So the Necromancer
captures Thrain, keeps him prisoner for 5 years, torturing him for 5 years in Guantanamo Bay, and takes his dwarven ring of power from him, and yet somehow, completely mysteriously to me, I still haven't figured this out, somehow Thrain manages to keep secret on his person the key and the map. After being tortured and stuck in a prison cell for 5 years, I don't know how he kept it secret, but he kept it secret. And then Gandalf goes in to find him, accidentally finds Thrain in Dol Guldur. And he...
So this is the reverse of Gollum. Gollum spills the beans, and then chases Gandalf.
Before he died, he gave the key to the side door to Gandalf. Okay? So Thrain is dead after an unsuccessful attempt to reclaim Erebor, and so it takes many, many, many more years after that. Okay? Thrain dies in 2850. All right?
Okay. So
2941 minus 2850. I'm doing quick math.
So that's the setup for the Necromancer.
It took 91 more years for Thorin to develop the chutzpah to go back again, almost a century later, to try to get some of his dwarven companions to go and reclaim Erebor again.
And
but he had no idea what happened to his dad.
Equivalent is like 20 years. So it'd be like, losing your business and then coming back 20 years later and trying to reclaim it.
So yes, we do expect. Someone says there's going to be a lot of flashbacks. Yes, Blair, I think that you're quite correct on that.
Yeah, and we saw some of those flashbacks in the original original Hobbit trailer.
Yeah.
In the first trailer, we saw some of these flashbacks.
If the movie had stayed a 2-part set, we would have seen this stuff by now. So we would have met Legolas by now. We would have seen this.
Who do you think Gandalf is telling these stories and flashbacks to?
Don't know yet. We don't know yet, but I'm very,
Is he
very
telling
curious.
Bjorn? Is he telling Galadriel? Is there anything in the book that...
Are you leaving, Alex? Bye, Alex. We love you, Alex. You're a wonderful lady.
So
stay sweet. We'll see you later.
So basically, Gandalf probably, I'm guessing that they meet up with the Necromancer, or they have an experience with the Necromancer, also voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes.
And Gandalf says, and everyone says, "Wow, this is a new foe." Oh. And Gandalf says, "Actually, I've met this guy before, and let me tell you what happened." And he goes into the whole story about necromancer and Thrain and da da da, and like, hey, take this key. You know, I'm lost, but you know, this is our last hope. So I'm thinking that's what happens. Just like in the Fellowship, when everyone's like, what is this new devilry? When they come across the Balrog, and Gandalf's like, seen it, and he's bad, so let's go. Like, I think the exact same thing is going to happen. Like, they stumble across the necromancer. Whoa, this thing's pretty bad and pretty evil. And he says,
no. When the dwarves go on their journey, as we're about to see in the Desolation of Smaug, the dwarves go through Mirkwood Forest, many hundreds of miles away from Dol Guldur, which is down in the southern tip of the forest. The individual who is closest to Dol Guldur by actual geography is Galadriel herself in her enchanted forest of Lothlorien. So I hope that when the White Council with Elrond and Galadriel and Saruman and everybody gets together with an attack force to go and take Dol Guldur, however it happens, whatever they show, I'm very excited at possibilities of seeing Cate Blanchett in full battle armor doing like a ride into battle. We've never seen something like that in Peter Jackson's films, with the exception of Éowyn in drag.
Actually,
as a man.
I don't think he will do that. Remember Arwen?
I'd love to see that.
Remember,
it's in the books. It's in Tolkien.
Arwen at Helm's Deep? Oh, the fans just wanted to punch Peter Jackson in the face.
Because it wasn't real to Tolkien.
Galadriel on a horse in battle? Come on.
It's
She is
completely
the most
canonical
regal.
to Tolkien. It's real. It's in the books.
So what, Arwen in battle is just as equivalent as Galadriel in battle.
No, but Tolkien never wrote that. The fans were upset with Arwen showing up at Helm's Deep.
Did he write Galadriel in the battle?
Tolkien has it all in the appendix. Look in the appendix.
Okay.
Galadriel lays bare the pits of Dol Guldur and ruins the tower. She brings those bastards down to their knees. Galadriel, showing the full force of her ancient elven power against Dol Guldur. I can't wait to see that.
Actually, that would be really cool.
Really cool. It's going to be really cool.
Actually, that'd be really cool.
It would be really cool.
And it would be a great bridge to when Frodo encounters Galadriel at the pool, and she says, "You'll have a queen," and she starts going like, you know,
yes,
like, if we see like,
and she's in chest plate mail. When she has her freak out over the ring temptation, she's in plate mail. She's wearing armor. You can see it in the
like
Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, she goes crazy. So are you telling me in The Hobbit
It's a
they're gonna
sudden
show her going crazy and she goes nuclear on a whole castle?
I'd like that. That would be kind of cool if she goes.
That's a game changer right now, son. I'm ready. I am ready to see Galadriel like break this place down.
Yes.
Like,
it would be
you
awesome.
will fear me. So that would like totally change the whole thing at the pool.
It would be.
Where it's like, oh, Frodo, you don't know what you're messing with right now, man.
Well,
you better answer this question correctly.
When Frodo is looking inside Galadriel's mirror and he sees all this horrible stuff and he realizes that Gandalf's dead and everyone else is dying around me, he just thinks I can get rid of this. Galadriel is the next most powerful entity next to Gandalf.
Yeah.
She's many thousands of years old. I wonder if Frodo knows this. Frodo just wants to get rid of the damn thing. I'll give it to you if you want it, because he believes she could handle it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I couldn't handle that. It would make me into a crazy Dark Lord myself. She's like, I could not handle this ring. She knows better. Galadriel was around during Fëanor's terrible oath and all the stuff that happens in the Silmarillion, and she has seen bad things happen at one moment of misjudgment. She knows better than that. So it's really fascinating to see that.
Question in the chat room: will they put Bolg in the movies? Yes.
Bolg was in the movie.
He is cast.
But he was already in it. You see him in the Battle of Azanul Bazaar.
But do you think
in a fight with Dwalin?
Do you think he has a bigger role?
I don't know.
I think he has a bigger role.
I wonder.
You know, all I want is a set call sheet from the set right now. If we can get our hands on a set call sheet and shows what actors are in New Zealand right now, that would explain everything. And the actor playing Bolg, I think, is in New Zealand right now.
Hello, Sauron's wife. Sauron's wife, if you take another quick look at the Fellowship of the Ring, either the theatrical or the extended edition, you will see Kate Blanchett wearing armor during her freak out temptation moment. You'll see it. It's plain as day.
All right, so
But anyways,
so Thorin. So we've caught up
getting
with
back to Thorin.
Thorin.
Okay.
So he's 195 years old. He was about 40-something years old.
Thorin, and he has waited around for over 90 years for his dad to come back.
And he didn't come back. So
And there's no word, and he knows his grandfather died right in front of him at the Battle of Azanul Bazaar, the Battle of the Dwarves and Orcs. So Thorin is left hanging onto a thread. A thread. There's nothing else in his life.
emotionally,
And you're talking
physically, he's
but
fine.
You have mistakenly made the claim twice now that the characters in The Hobbit don't have anything to fight for.
Besides their
More than Thorin,
kingdom.
more than Thorin, he has the dignity of his name to uphold.
Right.
And to a dwarf, that means everything. That means everything.
But from a movie perspective, like, yes, fighting for honor and your name and your castle and your homeland.
That's what Bruce Wayne does. That's exactly what Bruce Wayne does. It psychologically puts him into the place to become a vigilante
But you
warrior.
show
It's the same psychology for Thorin.
and Bruce Wayne.
He's
You
driven to
see,
that point.
but you see the father-son relationship, and you see how close they are.
Some filmmakers, not every filmmaker gives you a clear line of sight between Daddy Wayne and young Bruce Wayne. But
Even Braveheart, like he was angry at he's fighting for his kingdom, but like they killed his wife, like that was just like, all right, set this guy over the edge, let's go. Like, you may take our lives, man. And so that's what I'm talking about. Like from a book perspective, that makes sense, and yes, that would make sense. Anybody would fight for their honor and glory and their family name and their kingdom. But from a movie perspective, give me something emotional that these guys are fighting for. Viggo Mortensen or Aragorn is fighting for the love of his wife, his wife,
there's a little bit of
Sam is fighting for.
In Tolkien, he makes it very clear that Thorin's dad, Thrain, was bitten by gold lust, and he could not let go of the greed in his heart for all the gold that was, there under the mountain. And you see in the opening prologue how the grandfather, Thror, is taken up with the traditional lust for gold that Tolkien continually reminds us is a problem with the dwarves. When they become driven by their obsession for gold, it's the dwarves are almost psychologically like dragons. They are just mindlessly driven by the desire for more gold and more wealth, and it takes them to a feverish place.
So
And
Thorin never got that.
Thorin
Never got to that point.
Thorin
Of course, he was third in line.
Thorin has that as much as anybody else, but it is tempered. It is tempered by the desire to correct the ongoing historical tragedies that have unfortunately fallen on his family. So, I mean, that Arkenstone that you see, that Arkenstone that is that beautiful, shining,
That's somewhere in the pile of gold.
beautiful opalescent thing that doesn't really
It's
have
just a big jewel.
it doesn't have any specific magical powers, but it becomes one of the most important plot elements in The Hobbit. Wait till you see what happens next. And it feeds...
Will it happen in this second movie?
And we'll see. Yes. Yes, it will happen in both the second and third movies, depending upon where they split the narrative. I have yet to fully understand where they split the narrative.
If we assume that the desolation of Smaug is beginning to end, Smaug. Like, I don't think it's anything to do with Smaug and the gold and the treasure, anything to do with the third movie.
Yes.
Like this is we're just gonna wrap it up because the third movie they have to devote to the Battle of the Five Armies and the bridge, all the stuff of like going to Moria and like all that stuff.
Trying to, we asked Adam Brown about that, but he wouldn't open his mouth and say whether it happens or not.
Saying nothing is saying everything.
It is, but hey.
So Thorin is like Thorin's dad went out. Oh wait, but before that, do we know Thorin's last name?
Well, the dwarves do not have surnames.
They don't have surnames. Yeah, they're just Gimli, son of Gloin,
That's right. But the dwarves are always
So
reminding anyone who wants to listen that their genealogy is directly descended to one of the great seven fathers of the dwarves.
okay,
Either you're in or you're out. Yeah.
Okay, so Thorin Oakenshield is only referenced because of that one battle as something. So Oakenshield just has to do with the fact that he picked up a big oak, and he has nothing. There's nothing else to do with Oakenshield in the rest of the story.
He used a huge.
In the past, but it has
in the
nothing
past.
to do with the rest of the story.
That is correct. That is
so
correct.
so the question to fans in the chat room is: do you think they didn't spend enough time on the Oakenshield part of Thorin Oakenshield, or do you think, yeah, you know what, that's how it is in the book, and move on?
It seemed perfectly mentioned.
Like, I
for
want,
just
if
the
he's
right amount of
Thorin
time.
Oakenshield, give him another oak shield.
Hello, Melian Q. Yes, we're taking very good care of little Smaug. And, Melian, if you need me to send a little Smaug back to you, email me a message on Facebook. Again, please. And
Will we
I'll
see
put,
Gollum start to
I'll-
go after Bilbo?
I'll put him in a shipment right out to you. Now, let me get back to this. Thorin, and the way that Balin tells the story about Thorin, where he says all the stuff about the battle outside of Moria, and Azog gets, his arm chopped off, is, to me, interestingly, a direct reference to Beowulf. And I just rewatched Beowulf last night, the movie, and of course I remember reading Beowulf,
Okay.
of which Professor Tolkien did a great translation of Beowulf.
Oh, yes.
But the hero, Beowulf, chops off the arm of Grendel as proof that he had killed the beast. And of course the beast is not completely dead yet. He goes back to his lair. But Grendel's arm is left behind and hung up as a trophy over the entryway to the dining hall. And proof that the great monster is dead. But I see little mirror reflections with Azog losing his arm, and yet still the great monster is not dead. And so I find that very interesting and perhaps appropriate that Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson and Philippa Boyens would put this little flavor of Beowulf in there in the Battle of Azanul-Bazar. But while Balin is telling the story, Balin says, picking up only an oak branch as a shield, blah, 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 he fought against the pale orc. And then at the end of that speech, he says, and then I knew, there was one I could call king. And nowadays, I see people all over the internet with big tattoos of Thorin right there on their arm that says, there was one I could call king. That exact dialogue. It's a phenomenon. I mean, people love Thorin. They love the way he's portrayed. They love the fact that Peter's including all those little dirty details about how he got his last name. And it's all in there. It's in the movie. What I find a little bit strange is that we do not see anything more of Thorin's father. We don't see him fighting with Gandalf and Dol Guldur.
Not
we
yet.
don't see him being held captive in Dol Guldur. We don't know why Gandalf has gotten his hands on that key and that map. And we don't even see Thorin's dad battling it out and losing an eye at the Battle of Azanul-Bazar. The entire focus is on the grandfather, Thror, getting his head chopped off. And then Thorin picking up, arms as best as he could and trying to save the day at the last minute, in which he
He's got
effectively does.
he's got some fight in him.
He does.
So his
He
his dad's been gone for 20 years, and he's like
91 years. his
Well,
dad has been gone.
basically, and so basically he says, all right, let's go on this quest. Like, he pulls together the company of dwarves and says, let's go on this quest. Is he hoping to retrace his father's footsteps, so maybe he'll bump into his father on the way? Is there any inclination in Tolkien's
Quite
writings
possible. Quite
that
possibly.
this isn't just about reclaiming Erebor? That's what he tells everybody to get
No.
him motivated to come with us. But in reality, he's a lost son, still trying to find the fate of his father.
In the book,
And I wish, if that's true, I wish they would have focused on that
No.
in the book.
in
Make
the,
me care about
you,
this guy
You haven't even read the book, so listen to this. In the
in
book,
the movie.
Gandalf says, "This is where I got the key. I got it from your father. he was being held by the, you know, he was being held prisoner in Dol Guldur, okay? And then he says, and everybody's like, what business did you have going down there to deal with the necromancer? And Gandalf says, never you mind. That doesn't pertain to you. You don't need to know my business.
Okay.
All you need to know is that I've got the map and I've got the key and I'm giving it to you now. And it's in the book. Let me just see right here. I'm gonna find it for you real quick.
Wait, so yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. Hold on. You were just
Well, I'm just saying that we talked about this. Like there isn't much information, but other than he runs into Thrain. So, is there anything in the book that says that alludes to the fact that Thorin, you know, he tells everybody he wants to reclaim Erebor, and he doesn't. He's not obsessed with gold as of yet,
Yes.
but you know, he has an unknown about his father. So maybe there's a lot. He goes on this journey, you know, in hopes that he'll find his father on the way.
Well, no, in the book, he's not expecting to find. He's not expecting. He says, all right, Thrain, your father, this is Gandalf in the book, in the original book, here's Gandalf speaking to all the dwarves and Bilbo assembled at the dinner table. Gandalf says, I did not get hold of it, I was given it, said the wizard. Your grandfather Thror was killed, you remember, in the mines of Moria by Azog the goblin. Curse his name, yes, said Thorin. And Thrain, your father, Gandalf continues,
Right.
and Thrain, your father, went away on the 21st of April, 100 years ago last Thursday, and has never been seen by you since. Thorin says, true, true. Gandalf continues, well, your father gave me this to give to you, and if I have chosen my own time and my own way of handing it over, you can hardly blame me, considering the trouble I had to find you. Your father could not remember his own name when he gave me this paper. That's what happens when you're tortured for 5 years in Dol Guldur. You can't even remember your own name, and that's why we see him crazed and delusional trying to beat up on Gandalf, because he's just going crazy.
All right.
You know? And he says, your father could not remember his own name when he gave me the paper, and he never told me your name, so, on the whole, I think I ought to be praised and thanked for finding you and putting it all together. So here it is. Get it? So that's and
That's the extent of what we have.
that's the extent of
Thorin talking about his father.
and then Gandalf says, how he got there I don't know, but I found him a prisoner in the dungeons of the necromancer. Whatever were you doing there? Asked Thorin with a shudder, and all the dwarves shuddered. Gandalf says, never you mind. I was finding things out, as usual, and a nasty, dangerous business it was. Even I, Gandalf, just barely escaped. I tried to save your father, but it was too late. He was witless and wandering, and had forgotten almost everything in his mind except the map and the key. So, we know that Thorin is not looking for his dad. He knows at this point that his dad is dead.
Do they
didn't
stumble
make
throughout this journey, Thorin and his company's journey? Do they stumble on the remains of his father's people? Like Thrain went out with
No.
his own company.
No, I don't know. No, there's no mention of that ever again in the books.
Okay.
So I don't expect the filmmakers
So
are going
Thorin's
to
just going in on this. Like there isn't any reason other
Mhm.
than let's take back our land.
I just find it inexplicable, and even after all these years of reading and absorbing Tolkien, it is inexplicable to me that, you know, Thrain with only one eye, and with no wits and no mind and no memory, how he could be held captive in Dol Guldur for 5 years and still not have that key and that map confiscated by the dark powers that were holding him and interrogating him. I find that very interesting. I
Wait,
don't know how that happened.
so Gandalf meets meets up with Thorin's father in Angmar.
No, Gandalf meets Thorin's father, Thrain, in Dol Guldur.
Okay, and so where is Dol Guldur? Is it in the
That's-
northern lands?
It's down in the southern tip of
Southern-
Mirkwood. Basically, it's at the same parallel lateral line with Lothlorien.
Okay, where's Angmar?
Angmar's way, way, way up to the north,
Okay, so
on the western side of the Misty Mountains,
so
just north of Rivendell.
okay,
It's about 150, 200 miles north of Rivendell.
and we know for a fact that Gandalf and Radagast are in Angmar.
At one point, they're going to go in
Because
there
we've
looking
seen
at
the
the
footage.
tombs. Yes.
So let me ask you this:
And
when-
the only time we see any Dol Guldur at all in an unexpected journey is Radagast going there to say, there's some kind
Where-
of crazy shadow in Dol Guldur.
where are the
There's an
Rangers?
evil there.
Where are the Rangers?
The Rangers are all around the northern
The northern.
lands
so,
of Eriador.
So if we're talking,
near the Shire. They're protecting the Shire from orc packs. And the Rangers are there all around Rivendell and Weathertop and all those lands of Bree, where Bree is in the Fellowship of the Ring.
so
all the Rangers are all around
if
there.
we're gonna see Gandalf and Radagast go north to Angmar in the northern lands, there is a slight hint, chance, fan, hope, dream possibility that that's where they run into future king.
Aragorn?
Yeah. Because that's the only way that it would happen.
Possible, it's possible.
That's the only way it could happen.
If Aragorn is still operating in secret, as he is,
He is.
as one of the Dunedain
And
Rangers,
he's about to go on a hunt for Gollum. Why is he going on a hunt for Gollum?
well, that doesn't happen until after the events of The Hobbit.
Right, but why does he go on a hunt for Gollum?
Because
Because Gollum was in possession of the
because
ring.
Gandalf speaks to Aragorn about this after Gandalf discovers much later. Bilbo hasn't even told Gandalf the whole truth about the ring. that he
About the
found.
ring.
But
But
after Gandalf discovers what Bilbo has, then Gandalf seeks to investigate matters further.
so Gandalf is the one that finds Angmar and finds the things. And Gandalf has a thing with the and then Radagast has a thing with the necromancer. And then at some point Bilbo tells him about the ring.
Yes.
And so Gandalf going north to Angmar would know where to find Aragorn and say, "Hey, hunt down this Gollum guy." Bilbo ran into him back there, and he knows something about these Witch Kings. He's the one. Gollum is the one that interacted with the Witch King, and the Fallen at Angmar. So Gandalf is the one that could be telling Viggo. I'm telling you, Viggo's gonna be in this trilogy.
Well, Justin, I like your wishful thinking.
I want Viggo
I
on this
love that.
more than I want Elijah Wood. Elijah Wood should have never been in The Hobbit.
I think that's kind of great that Elijah Wood's there in the
He
Hobbit.
should have never been in The Hobbit. They got the most famous starting line in almost all of literature. In A Hole in the Ground, they lived a Hobbit, and they don't even start it with that.
No, they started with, a prologue, because every Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson film has a big
prologue.
7-minute special cool prologue. That's the way it is.
Do you think they're gonna have this? This is part of the prologue. So okay, so Thorin, so Thorin, does it say how Thorin put together his company? Did he choose these guys, or did he just put an ad on Craigslist saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to reclaim Erebor. Who's in?" Like, this is a ragtag bunch of dwarves.
Thorin had been living in the Blue Mountains with many of his kin.
Right,
So-
most of his kin
And most of them being
from Erebor.
survivors from Erebor.
Yeah.
And many of them were other dwarves who sought to be part of his new homes in the Blue Mountains. But, I don't know exactly how Thorin convinced all those particular dwarven individuals to come with him.
They never explain it.
But in the movie, they went on to have a little conversation about that. That's not in the book. In the movie, Gawain says, or one of them says, "So, how did it go with meeting with all the tribes? Did they agree to come with us? And did Dain of the Iron Hills show up?" And Thorin says, "No. They all came, but Dain will not come. They will not join us. The other guys are not going to join us. So it's just us. It's just ourselves."
Yeah, that's in
So,
the movie.
Evidently, Thorin is having a tough time recruiting anybody to go with him, and that's why he has this speech with Balin in the darkened hallway of Bag End. He says, "Honor, trust, that's all I can hope for. That's all I can hope for with these guys to come with me."
Basically, he's
That's all I
saying,
can ask
"I got
for,
what I
yes.
got. I got what I got." So
Now, I can't really give you any psychological insights as to how Thorin managed to do recruiting among his own dwarves. The most difficult part
Obviously,
was
it wasn't military dwarves.
Well,
These
no.
aren't military dwarves.
The most
One dude's got an axe in his head.
the most difficult part was Gandalf trying to convince Thorin to take Bilbo with him. That was a whole trick, and a couple of the fans have.
Oh wait, okay. So Gandalf says in the movies like Gandalf says that
We have musicians
we-
downstairs.
we
They're
choo-
practicing on instruments, so you can hear that in the background probably.
we've got what's it called? Gandalf says this is the 13th member of this company. I get to choose the 13th member. This is the 13th member.
Well, they were 13 already. They wanted a 14th.
14th.
member.
Yeah,
wanted
but
a
doesn't Gandalf say I get to choose this one?
I have
and this is
chosen,
my-"
yes.
I have chosen.
Yes.
Okay, so is there any inclination? Is there anything that says what that arrangement was? Thorin obviously had an arrangement with Gandalf saying we need 14 guys.
Yes.
All right, so where is that? When does Thorin decide? Hey, I need 14 guys to come with me. So it makes us like when does that happen? Do they ever say? Do we ever know like when and why Thorin said, "Hey, I need 14 people"?
At some point, they were superstitious about being an unlucky number of 13 traveling in the group. They were a little superstitious about that.
Is that in
And-
the book?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
That's in the book. Yes, and there's also a fascinating thing that was published in Unfinished Tales. It was reprinted in the annotated version of The Hobbit.
Right.
So if you have a copy of the annotated Hobbit, you'll have access to this, or get yourself a copy of Unfinished Tales, and you'll realize that Gandalf had a lot of explaining to do to Gimli. Gimli was curious, how did you ever get Thorin to approve Bilbo going along on this journey?
Really?
Yes,
So-
we've talked about this
So
before.
so Thorin really wasn't the one instigated to do this. Thorin's dad went off. So Thorin wasn't obsessed with gold. He was just like, oh, my dad died.
Here it is.
You know, so Thorin wasn't just like da da da. It was Gandalf saying, hey, go on this trip. You need 14 guys. Go on.
Listen to this. Here's the bit from Unfinished Tales. Okay? At last, I made up my mind, and I went back to Thorin. I found him in conclave with some of his kinsfolk. Balin and Glowing were there, and several others. Well, what have you got to say? Said Thorin. This first, Gandalf answered. Your own ideas are those of a king, Thorin Oakenshield, but your kingdom is gone. If it is to be restored, which I doubt, it must be from small beginnings. Far away here, I wonder if you fully realize the strength of a great dragon. But that is not all. There is a shadow, capital S. There's a shadow. There's a shadow growing fast in the world, far more terrible. They will help one another. Gandalf was really worried about the evil shadow growing in the world that was going to recruit the dragon to use it for its own ends. And so Gandalf advises Thorin, open war would be useless. Open war would be quite useless, and anyway, it is impossible for you to arrange it. You will have to try something simpler and yet bolder. Indeed, you're going to have to try something desperate. This is Gandalf's advice to Thorin. And Thorin says, you are both vague and disquieting. Speak more plainly. Gandalf continues, well, for one thing, you will have to go on this quest yourself, and you will have to go secretly. No messengers, no heralds, no challenges, or for you, Thorin, at most, you can take with you a few kinsmen, you can take a few faithful followers, at most. But you will need something more. You will need something unexpected. And Thorin says, name it. Gandalf says, one moment. If you hope to deal with the dragon, not only is he very great, but he is also old and very cunning. From the beginning of your adventure, you must allow for this, his memory and his sense of smell. Naturally, said Thorin, dwarves have had more dealings with dragons than most people, and you are not instructing the ignorant. Thorin is being kind of haughty and saying, I know what I'm doing. And Gandalf says, very good, but your own plans do not seem to consider this point. My plan is one of stealth. And he repeats the word, stealth. This is how Gandalf is convincing Thorin that Bilbo is an appropriate person to break the unlucky number and to give them the stealth that they need. And they talk about this in the dialogue in the film. All right? Smaug does not lie on his costly bed without dreams, Thorin. He dreams of dwarves. You may be sure that he explores his hall day by day, night by night, until he is sure that not the faintest air of any dwarf is anywhere near before he goes to sleep. His half-sleep, because he is prick-eared for the sound of feet, dwarf feet. And this is really a convincing argument that Gandalf is making. He goes on to say, and here's what Balin says. Balin says, you make your stealth sound as difficult and as hopeless as any open attack. You make it sound impossibly difficult, says Balin. And Gandalf says, yes, it is difficult, but not impossibly so, or I would not waste my time here. I would go as far to say that it's absurdly difficult. So I'm going to suggest an absurd solution to the problem. Take a hobbit with you. Take a hobbit with you, Gandalf says, quote unquote. Smaug has probably never ever heard of hobbits, and he has certainly never smelt them. And then Glowing, who's going to be the father of Gimli, as we know, Glowing says, what? One of those simpletons from down in the Shire? You want him to take him with us? You see, all the dwarves are not keen on this idea.
Right.
You guys have to take a look at this. Get yourselves a copy of
so,
Unfinished Tales.
So basically,
or The Annotated Hobbit, and you'll see what a tough time Gandalf had in convincing the dwarves that Bilbo was the magic ingredient in their stealthy approach to this adventure.
So when we're talking about Thorin, we're saying, look, here's a guy. He lived with all the remnants of Erebor. His father went out and tried to reclaim it, never came back, and he's just eking out a life. But he's always talking like, if I were in Erebor. And Gandalf finally says, bro, you talk like a king, but you ain't got no kingdom. So what are you gonna do about that? Here's an idea. Let's go in stealth-like. I got a plan. And Thorin says, well, I got nothing better to do, because he's just a hammersmith, basically. Am I kind of like super simple, like this is basically it? So, he's like, I can totally picture Thorin as that guy that always talks about, he's the Al Bundy.
Yeah,
he's talking about the glory days. He's always talking about the glory days.
Yes.
And
okay, I get
and man, if I was there, man, I'd be doing this. And he's always talking about and so what you just read is like Gandalf saying, bro, you talk like a king, but you ain't no king because you ain't got no kingdom. Let's go.
I love the way Tolkien writes that.
Yeah.
I love the way Tolkien writes that. Your ideas are the ideas of a king, and you're talking a lot of talk, but you don't have a kingdom.
Exactly.
You don't have an army. What the hell are you gonna do?
Right. So
really, but
and
the dwarves, take a look at the opening of Fellowship of the Ring extended edition, where Bilbo does this whole concerning hobbits. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where Bilbo gets an extended bit of stuff in the Fellowship movie, where he talks about the lives of the people of the Shire. We're really very simple folk. And then they got that close-up of a guy going,
right.
He's digging in his ear. That is the way that the dwarves of the Blue Mountains think of Bilbo.
Okay.
And as soon as one of the dwarves here, you want us to take one
Glowing,
of those like
Glowing
stupid farmers?
Thorin went along with it. Glowing was the one that was just like whatever. So Thorin, this show is about Thorin. That's the history of Thorin and his dad and how things happen. But so basically we're learning that Thorin is just basically he's not really a leader.
Yes, he is. He's the only one who motivates anybody to do anything.
Well, he got a ragtag group of people. He obviously didn't motivate anybody else. The other 7 kingdoms didn't come in. Dane said, "No way, Jose," and he got this ragtag, and even Gandalf is like, "Whoa, what?" Balin is like, "Da da da," and he's like, "I got what I got, and they're motivated, so we'll have a go. That's all I can ask for."
I don't know that this is a barometer of Thorin's leadership ability.
Why did
I
Peter?
think there's so many other factors involved here. We have to remember that Gandalf had advised them to keep it a small company. They had bumped into each other in Bree. They met and talked in Bree, and then Gandalf went wandering again, and he came back years later to the Blue Mountains and met with Thorin again and said, "Okay, if you really, really want to do this, I'm going to help you if you do it my way or the highway."
And so they go.
So there they go.
So was Richard Armitage the right casting choice? Was he an
Yes.
was he an obvious casting choice? What did
No.
he?
My original thoughts of who Thorin might be, I was thinking that might be really someone like Clive Owen, who I adore. I think is amazing.
Whoa.
I love Clive Owen.
Clive Owen Thorin.
You guys watch Children of Men if you've not seen it.
Yes.
It's the best movie ever. But I always thought that it would be some more immediately well-known British actor. Who's the guy who played Beowulf? Hey, since I was just watching Beowulf last night, I thought it might be what's his name who played Beowulf.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But
so,
no, I'd never heard of Richard Armitage.
and he played. Huh?
Say it again.
Russell Crowe would have been a good one
Russell Crowe as Thorin?
Yeah.
Didn't he play the guy from Beowulf?
No, he
Wait,
did not.
yeah, he did.
No, he did not. No, he did not.
Who are you talking about? The King?
No,
Not the old
guys,
guy.
we're still doing a show up here.
It's fine. They're good.
Thorin.
So
Now listen, let me tell you. The old grandfather in Beowulf was Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
Beowulf was. You've got IMDb, please. You could look it up for us. Okay. Wonders when. Okay,
so,
Gothy.
So yeah,
Wonders when
obviously,
Cliff will sing.
obviously he was the right choice. And look, if you want to see Richard Armitage, go to our
Who's the lead?
Go to our YouTube channel. Cliff interviewed Richard Armitage last year at
Yes.
San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, yes,
And
I
you
did.
want to see Love at First Sight? that guy, Richard Armitage, talking
Yeah,
about.
but who was falling for who? I
I
couldn't
know,
tell.
I know.
We were both
And then-
just like looking at each other like, what? What's happening?
And they were
We
talking
kept
like
talking to each other, like leaning in.
he has read the books. And he has
Thank
read
you,
the books.
Gothy. Ray Winstone.
Ray Winstone.
Ray Winstone played Beowulf. He
Well-
should be at the top.
Well, so
I thought that
he
he'd be
wasn't
Thor.
he was always clean cut, like north and south. And you watch everything else that Richard Armitage has been in. He's always been the clean cut guy, and here he is playing like a master dwarf, scruffy and whatever. So, but I think they made a good choice. Casting is everything.
He was an excellent choice.
and,
He was.
and that was the
Excellent choice.
history of Thorin. And so, you know what I'm getting from this history is that he doesn't have much motivation. He's just getting pushed by Gandalf.
He is not being pushed by Gandalf.
And I want
He's being guided by Gandalf in the appropriate way to maximize results. This is the role that Gandalf had in all of Middle-earth, was to guide the hearts of the free peoples, men and dwarves and elves, and to inspire them to take the right path in their efforts against the shadow.
Okay, so
I'm going to start singing. If you really want me to sing, Gothy, here it goes.
oh dear,
Here we go.
We better end the show before
1,
then.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
See what I have to deal with? What
1,
are
2,
you
3, 4,
doing?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Switch.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, I just had to sing. So, anyways, you guys, thank you. Excellent. So are we.
And that was the musical stylings of Bushwalla. You can find them on iTunes.
I remember that from Sesame Street. Do you remember that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
I didn't really watch Sesame Street when I was a kid.
You didn't. Really?
I had to read. Like I was only allowed like 2 hours of TV a day.
Well, I learned how to read by watching Sesame Street when I was a preschooler. I mean, one dot is connected to the other dot. It's called connect the dots. Anyways, before we go, somebody in the chat room asked a question about Bjorn. What do we know? We don't know a damn thing about Bjorn.
We don't know.
We
And
don't know
I
what they're
hope-
going to show in the trailer yet. We really don't know
I
yet.
hope they don't show him in the trailer. I hope
They're
they
going to
keep.
show... They are.
No. I hope they keep it as a surprise because Bjorn,
They are.
because of the whole bear trans and generation thing. Just like they kept the talking trees out of the trailer. The Ents. They kept the Ents out of the trailer in Two Towers, and that was a good choice. I think they should keep the bear, the transmogrification. Anyway.
Transmogrification.
Whatever.
Transmogrification.
This
Have you ever heard a word that has 6 syllables?
This is the OneRing.net Torn Tuesday. History of
Azanu
Dwarves.
Bizarre. Well, that's 5 syllables.
History of Dwarves. Thorin Oakenshield. You know what? I learned a lot.
You still don't know how tragic his story really is.
You know,
still don't know.
If he dies, it's not tragic because I don't care enough about him. He's not fighting for anything. He's getting pushed out the door.
That's not true. He's not fighting for anything.
Fighting for anything.
They have shown us many, many times what Thorin is fighting
They're
for.
trying so hard. It feels forced. It feels forced. What you just read says, hey, Gandalf comes in and says, oh, you talk like a king, but you got nothing to back it up. So let me push you out the door. Well, I don't really want to go. I don't know about this. It's too dangerous.
He didn't say that.
Come on,
He didn't
let's
say
go.
that. No, he was ready to go, and he was ready to assemble an army. Thorin was ready to go, and Gandalf tempered the conversation to make it something more reasonable. Thorin is full steam ahead, ready to go. It's not that he can get all the dwarves of the Blue Mountains to rally around him.
And he didn't. He got a ragtag bunch of punks.
But it would have been an absolute failure if he did. It would have been a ridiculous failure if he did take an army of dwarves from the Blue Mountains. Everybody east of the sun and west of the moon would have known that he was on his way before they got there. The dragon would have had a telegraph sent to him knowing that they were coming to take the mountain back. So the idea of a whole stealth thing was a very good idea, and I appreciate that Gandalf brought Thorin to a more reasonable track of thought.
Will we see a growth of character and a stronger character arc in the second movie with Thorin?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, especially if Thorin faces his ultimate fate in the third film, then all the movies together are going to be building and building up to this.
I know,
ultimate,
but I'm just talking about the
ultimate
second film. We're talking about the second film.
Yes.
Will Thorin, who of all the dwarves, who's going to have the biggest character arc?
Of all the dwarves
in the second movie,
the biggest character arc is going to be definitely Thorin, because he has to deal with every one of the elves. He has to deal with being a prisoner of Thranduil, and then he has to deal with the men of Lake Town recognizing him for his hereditary claim to the throne of Erebor. And then he has to deal with going back and finding a way in, and dealing with the dragon, who's going to come out and fry everybody alive. So yeah, Thorin has a lot to do.
So in the second movie,
a lot to do in the second movie.
Thorin is a man on a mission.
Yes.
That's what word is.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that.
It's gonna be good.
I don't want him like almost dying at the end with some flames and oh my god!
No.
Like I want to see a guy with a man on a mission that's ready to do battle of wits and battle of axes with men, with elves. Like I'm a man on the mission. I'm a dwarf on a mission, and this is Torn Tuesday, History of Dwarves.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks
on
for
Torn
joining
Tuesday.
us. This guy knows more than me, but I have more fun.
Hey, but hey, no, I don't know about that. I don't know. Oh, I don't know about that.
This guy went drinking with dwarves already.
Let me. Hey, before you shut the show off, you guys want to find us on the archive?
5, 4,
go to youtube.com and do a
3,
search for TheOneRing.net,
2,
and you'll find the archives of all of our Torn Tuesday
1,
shows. This is Cliff,
0.
Quick Beam, Broadway, signing off. Thank you for joining us, and this is...
Bye.